Okay. There we go. See if she's working now. Streamlabs decided to crash. Let's see. My mom texted me. Okay. Alright. I think everything is actually working now, which is good. I'm playing with that, you know, because it's here. In the middle tab's fun to run around. Anyway, it's Wednesday, so I'm going to be painting some. Right now, I am trying to paint every Wednesday and play something, probably single player-y every Sunday. Just because, you know, it's fun to share what you're doing during these shitty times. So, before Christmas, so I know for Christmas I'm getting a shit ton of Tyranids, so I have my own little hive fleet arriving. Haven't come up with a cool name for it yet, but I've been working on the color scheme. So for Christmas, I'm getting a bunch of Tyranids, and that's really super rad. But I'm trying to finish up pretty much all of my existing projects before I get swamped in giant space bugs. So let's make sure everything's running, yay. So I'm trying to pretty much finish up all my other projects before I get swamped. So I've got a couple other little things here and there, you know, rebased on my Skaven, rebased on my Nurgle stuff. Doing pretty good. The last big outstanding thing I have is about this 25 points here worth of genestealer cults. Now all of these guys have been converted to be space rats, so they are quote-unquote cheese stealer cults. There's the Megos with his tail, I guess her tail, and the big old rat head. We got a Clam of Us, who's got like a Pied Piper thing going on. I haven't done their bases yet, but he's got a bunch of rats and his big like disc jockey sound system. Yay! I hope it doesn't crash this time. The crashing was really annoying. So I've got about 25 power level of these guys. It's really like 35 or so, just because I have an extra HQ and I've got some abominants and stuff. But I've got these guys here on the table pretty much left to finish up, and my goal is to get them done before Christmas, like I said. And they'll all be done up like these guys. Like this is their big truck. He's all magnetized, so you can swap between the two different types of trucks. And all the little gunners are magnetized in case I don't want it to have these units or whatever. I love the view of the back from this. It reminds me of RoboCop 1, the opening chase scene. It's really cool. So I've got all these guys, and I'm doing up as many as I can. This is pretty much all of my GSC, like all I plan to get on GSC. Not because I think they're really fun to play, but because, you know, I've sort of painted one of each model at this point for these, once I finish these up. And I think, wow, that one's got a shit ton of dog hair on it. I literally just painted you last week. How'd you get so much dog hair on you? But yeah, little trucks. Rats enjoy driving little trucks and they find it relaxing. But again, everybody's all magnetized on these too. So are all the guns and stuff. So pretty cool. So we're going to work on about the other 25 power level of these guys. Get them painted up. So let's see what we got. We have one unit of, I think these are called neophytes. They're the standard guy. They're just like the standard trooper. A unit's got 5 guys with guns, and then it's got some guys with some big fancy heavy guns. So here's like a guy with a big fancy heavy gun. And there's a guy with like a banner thing as well. And these guys are magnetized, so I can swap them to shotguns if I want, but I think the auto guns were more fun for the moment. So we got them to paint. I've got some little trucks or little vehicles. This guy's missing his arm. Where's his arm? There it is. It's covered in dog hair. So we've got like this 4x4 here, which also gets a machine gun. We've got a HQ on little motorcycle, and we've got some other little motorcycles. Now all the little motorcycles, I'm trying to do these different color. I originally was painting them all the same color because I'm a doof, but I don't like how that looks, so we're not doing that anymore. And then I've got these guys who also don't have arms at the moment. Where their arm? We find some arms for this guy. Let's just say he'll have these as arms. And these are sort of like the heavier infantry unit compared to these guys. These guys are like the, you know, like the lesser troops. These are like the more shock troopy kind of guys. So that's what I've got left to paint up. And then these guys will be able to herald in my high fleet arriving on Christmas. So, let's figure it out. Let's start with this guy. Let's get him finished up because he's almost ready and he's a big thing to paint. So let me get the other guys out of the way, and then we'll figure out what's left to paint on him and go from there. I was working on these guys last night, but I was just kind of painting randomly. Like I would put some paint on the pad, and then you know, whoever needed that color, I would just paint that guy, kind of thing. So it was like, oh, here's some brown. Okay, well, this guy needs brown, and this guy needs brown, and this guy needs brown, and this guy needs a brown, like that. So it's just kind of randomly picking up parts of them. Wasn't working on any specific one. Sort of like a shotgun approach. But let's grab this guy. We'll clean him up, get him all ready to play. All right, so obviously we got to paint some bits on his arm. His arm is missing some colors. The headlights are missing colors. The rack here needs some color cleanup. He needs colors here in his body. He's missing silver. The colors on his tail need to be repainted. Some of the cables need to be repainted. This gun could be touched up a little. And then looks like his cloth color could be touched up a little because there's some spots and stuff. So let's do the cloth touch up first because this is Avalanche Sunset. Mine's super old, so it's kind of, I've been adding medium and water to it, so it's kind of runny. Not a super big fan of these ones in the pot anymore, but I have not found a replacement for this color in any of the tubes. I haven't found a company that does a similar one, so I have to keep using it. Alright, so let's see what we got. Looks like his head needs some touch up. This is going to be kind of runny, so it's not going to cover super amazingly well. But we'll do it in a couple of rounds. Go. Just slapping it on there, nothing particularly fancy. You might get some highlights after he washes, but right now we're not worrying about it. We're just trying to get our base colors blocked in. There we go. Okay. So you can see there's some waviness and imperfection in the yellow of the body. Our wash should cover a lot of that. I'm just gonna put some paint on some of the areas that are sort of standing out to me. There's the wash is gonna darken this whole thing down pretty substantially and dirty it up. So it'll do a lot of the work to even the tone out there for us, which will be good. Yeah. Go. We'll get that painted up there too. All right, now let's do some more here on this to try to fix those errors up. We had the paint was a little thicker, we wouldn't have to do so many coats, but it'll work. All right, sweet. Okay. Let's do up some of the wires, because there's some wires missing and that will stand out really well. So for all the wires, I use Mephiston Red and Pure Red. They're basically the same exact color. This one is just, it's super old. So I cracked once, that's pretty much used up. I've cracked this one, so. So I like to do the wires in red because they give something to stand out. They're not like a crazy contrast color, but they at least, they give some standout, at least a little bit of pop there. You can see I actually missed painting one on this guy. That's going to drive me nuts if I don't do it, so let me do it. Am I on camera? Yeah, I'm on camera. Okay. Camera is positioned a little bit different today, so I'm having to sit a little bit further out from the model. So don't think it's bad. There we go. All right, so let's see. We've got a wire here on the robot arm. We'll have to do that in red. We've got some wires here underneath. That needs to be red too. To get both sides of that. Okay. Let's finish up painting this one so I don't forget about it. Let's swap brushes on it because it's really big. So just swap into a slightly bigger brush. There we go. Could get really fancy and do like hazard stripes on these or something, but no, just leave them red. The like hazard strips and wires thing is one of those things I associate with certain factions with. So I try not to do it for every faction, though it does generally look pretty good. Just going to paint the wires up here underneath, up under the chassis. A little probably hard to see while I'm doing it, but it's hard to see while I'm doing it, so that makes sense. But nice little details like this, they add a lot. They add a lot that you're just not expecting. And like when you look at the model and you catch the little details, you're like, oh, that's neat. You know, it adds some depth, it adds some character. It's pretty cool. Alright, so I'm going to paint the red on his body now. So when I'm painting these, my rule of thumb is that if it is a smooth wire, it's red. If it's like, I think it's called Connex or whatever, the metal casing wires where it's like sort of like spine bits, like ring, where it's like that, I do those silver, or I leave them silver. But smooth wires are all red. That's my rule of thumb for painting these guys. Let's keep them consistent. So let's see what we got. Let's see, we have a hard one there. There's a smooth one there from the backpack. And we'll do that. Am I still on cam? No, a little bit off. Good now? Good now. Okay. I swapped to using a different stand for my camera when I'm recording, so I don't have to move the arm around, but don't think I have the arm in the exact perfect spot where I want it yet, so I'll move it around before next painting stream. Just feel a little bit far out. So go. So you can see these are bunching up a little. I'm not doing a super good job of painting from the wet edge, but it's okay. They're tiny little details. They'll be fine being a little bunched up. Not the end of the world. Okay, and all the other wires on him are let's see, does he have one between his legs? He does. Alright, he's got one between his legs. This is where we hold our breath. Some of these guys on their like jumpsuits have a wire that like runs around their one leg and like around to the back of it. It's really weird. Not sure what piece of like space tech it's supposed to be, but there we go. Alright, sweet. Alright, now we still have the red out, so let's look at the other guys, see if they've got any red on them, since I poured out so much of it, and we can try to do it at the same time. Alright, so let's see. Do the bikes actually have individual wires on them anywhere? Looks like a no, but the guys do. So we'll pick some out of the guys. Oop, oop, come here. There we go. Alright. So I'm very happy I finally came up with an idea of the color for these guys. I've been agonizing over how to paint them forever. And then I realized that my Tyranids are going to be blue base. And these guys' equipment is an interesting mix of stuff. So the lore for genestealer cults is basically that they worship Tyranids as gods. So some of their armor is made to mimic Tyranids. You can see it in like, it's probably hard to see on the camera, but there's like a little like step pattern on some of the armor. You can probably see it better like on her, for example. You can see it on like the back of her hood there. Now she has the little claws facing in. You know, and that's made to mimic patterns that are in the Tyranids. So a lot of these guys, you know, they're sort of a mix of equipment of like, you know, whatever mining equipment or whatever they have from their job, you know. That's why I went with the jumpsuits being orange, because I could see those being issued out to people. And then they have this like custom made armor, you know, which is something I could see like maybe over eons the designer is like slowly rolling that out for everybody, kind of thing. You know, because it's very industrial too. It's got lots of little bits and bobs in it. Oh, gotta get on cam. Again, this guy's got a line down in there. I really could have done these in sub-assembly, which is where you don't assemble the model, you paint it and then assemble it. But honestly, I don't really like to do that. I feel like I get a better feeling for the model and sort of its personality and what it's supposed to be on the tabletop and stuff once it's assembled. I kind of have a hard time thinking about it when it's pieces and not like a thing. Getting a little clumpy there. I've noticed a bunch of painters of Gunpla, they'll talk about it as like, you know, the idea of who the model is, like the spirit of the model or whatever. I mean, you know, I think there's some truth to that. You know, just sort of trying to recognize the character and sort of trying to bring it out with your paint and your work. And it's a little sappy, but I think there's truth to it. So yeah, so I'm not a super big fan of sub-assembly unless I absolutely have to. Orcs are one of those things that, like, Jesus, sometimes they need some sub-assembly. There's just no way around it. So, like, the Ludas and Shootas, like, or no, Ludas and Burnas, like, holy Christ, they have these, like, weapon rigs that are essentially fucking impossible to paint. Unless you sub-assembly them. Because it's like this big, huge gun rig that like goes over their body, and then their body has all details and stuff too. It's a nightmare. So if I ever painted those again, I would 100% sub-assembly them. Alright. And just doing little bits of red all over the freaking guys. And we'll go back to our four-wheeler guy. My goal would be to get the four-wheeler guy done on this stream at least. So, there we go. Alright, let's get a little bit of those bits of red done. Because I pour out what you paint. Okay. Now, he needs his silver. Which is actually Army Painter Gunmetal. I love this color. It is slightly different than the GW one. It's slightly shinier. So, I unfortunately have to use the GW Lead Belcher color sometimes to color match. For whatever, like if I spray something like the frame of a knight or something, I'll have to break out the GW Lead Belcher paint, but otherwise I prefer using that one. Alright, so I had screwed up and I hit this when I was repainting the body the other day. So we'll go ahead and we'll clean that up. Just trying to get those details a little cleaner. Okay. Again, same thing here. Get that cleaned up. Alright, cool. Now the back of his gun handle needs to get done. His grenade here needs to get done. There we go. And then lots and lots of tubes and stuff. It looks like he had a little bit of an error in assembly, but it's okay. You won't see it once he has his arm in the spot. Oh, is his head loose? It is. Interesting. Okay, that's a... You look like you had a rough assembly, my friend. If I remember right, that's because I had you as you had a different head on, and then I had to pull it off after it was glued on. Okay, get his like chest comms, his other little plugs and things. I imagine the plugs and stuff would not be, would not be blue. They would not be the color of the armor. They'd sort of be rigged up afterwards. Let's touch that up since we're here. There we go. Alright, and then you gotta do the buckles on the sides of his legs. I probably really should do all the buckles on the belts in like a cloth color, but it's okay. I still pick the buckles out though, because I think it adds. And it helps spread some silver down to the lower body. So the lower body generally doesn't have a lot. Okay, I'm going to paint his backpack. Doing his backpack. There we go. So the backpack's one of those things that's, there's four sides to it, left, right, up, and down. It's going to be very easy to miss stuff relating to the bottom of it, because like you'll never see it, and 99% of the time you're looking at this model. Just trying to remember that, there's four sides, we got to make sure we get them all, kind of thing. There we go. There we go. Alright. So, got his backpack looking pretty good. Clean it up a little bit. Okay. Gonna clean up that a little bit. That a little bit. Alrighty. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. There we go. Gotta do the buckles over on this side of the leg. Like that. Alright, cool. Alright, now once we paint this arm, is it gonna have anything on it? No, he's got the gun. Is this gonna have anything else? No, not really. Cool. Alright, so that is... Oh, we got some silver details in there in front of the foot. That should be silver. There's some, like, motorcycle details in there. Hit those. There we go. That's good. Looking pretty sweet there. Okay. Now again, I poured out too much of that, so we'll carry that silver over and get some of these guys have their detail painted because I poured out too much like a dingus. Let's see what we got. Just gonna get some of the color blocked in, and then we'll add depth with washes and stuff afterwards. Just trying to get it blocked in. There we go. No, let me move this guy, otherwise I'm going to hit him with my fucking brush. We'll pick out some of his other details while we're here. Head of this pick, the head of this axe and stuff. So when you build these little trucks, you get a bunch of different pieces of war gear you can give them. Now, I generally don't... I know technically you're supposed to, when you build your models, you're supposed to have the war gear represent what they actually have. I generally don't do that. I generally consider those things cosmetic. So, you know, like this guy, he might have a bag with a shotgun in it or something, you know, even though he's armed with an auto gun. But generally what's important to me is that if he has an auto gun, the model actually has it. Even if, like, the details on the model don't perfectly match. The reason I generally don't care about that stuff is I just consider it cosmetic. You know, I'm like, oh, this is, you know, his little bits and bobs and, you know, his stuff. A tournament would probably get angry at me for that, but honestly, meh. It's just, I don't care to be that specific. It's also one of the reasons is I magnetize like everything. All my models are magnetized. My troops are magnetized. My big things are magnetized. I mean, would you like to see some night parts? You know, but I don't magnetize war gear stuff. I'll magnetize all the weapons, but like, if it's like this one has this shield, and then if you put this disc on it, it has a +2 cover save. I'm like, whatever. No, I want it to have this other appearance. You know, and that's just how it is. And some people might get angry about that, but honestly, I don't care that much. You know, I want my model to look how I want it to look. I mean, like, there are some models where they're supposed to have specific heads or whatever. I mean, these are fucking space skaven, right? Like, if I had done that with my AdMech, you'd be like, oh, how do I know if it's a Ranger or a Vanguard Skitari? And it's like, well, what gun does it have? That tells you what it is. You know what I mean? Or your opponent tells you what it is. Like, you know, that, like, that level of detail representing the model is something I don't care about. So, like, I gave them options that made them look cool and I thought were fun. You know, and of course, if I were to play a game, I'd be like, these guys have this and this and this. And my opponent would be like, okay. And I'd be like, if you don't know what that does, I'll tell you before I do it. And they'd be like, okay. And I'd be like, hell yeah. Am I on cam? Oh no, I'm not on cam anymore. Shit. Yeah, the cam's a little far out. Getting the hang of it still. After playing it all, still moving it around and stuff. There we go. Okay, let's use up some more of that silver. Does this guy have cables and stuff? Yeah, he does. I didn't paint. Let me do those. So yeah, I got the idea to do Space Skaven after my I was playing a game with a friend and he had genestealer cults. And I was playing my admech, and his entire army was basically under the ground at the start. And I was like, Jesus, that is the most Skaven thing ever. You know, and then he's playing, like, all of his stuff is like random effects on bizarre dice rolls and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's super, super Skaven, how that plays. I love it. So I was like, I bet you I could slap some Skaven heads on GSC bodies, and it would totally work. So I painted a model for that same friend as a gift, because he traded me a knight he didn't want anymore for a really good price. So it wasn't part of the trade, but I was like, all right, I want to give you something else. So I painted him up a guy with 3 guns. He's like a gunslinger guy. He's a GSC model. It's not the Magos. Kellermorph. I painted him up a Kellermorph. And when I built that model, I actually tried it out with a Skaven head to see if it would work. And it did. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I didn't finish it with the Skaven head because he doesn't have a Skaven army, but you know, I put a regular head on it, and I sculpted a hat on it and stuff, and pretty cool. Quite happy with it. But yeah, it showed me that I could get Skaven heads on these bodies. So I had some extra clan rat heads, which is one of the reasons you'll see most of the guys have they have like little hoods. And I was like, oh, these clan rat heads are like perfect size. So yeah. And the little hoods also gave me an option to get some yellow into these models, because I've painted, God, probably at least a dozen different test models for these guys. And I wanted some yellow in there, because my actual Skaven army is yellow base. Like, the color that ties all the models together is yellow. You know, it's usually some kind of yellow cloth, like, you know, their loincloths are yellow, or their head wrap is yellow, or something like that. So when I saw that all the clan rat heads had these, like, or most of them had these, like, hoods, I was like, that's perfect. I can get some yellow in there. And yeah, these guys, they've been in orange jumpsuits, they've been in gray jumpsuits, they've been in brown jumpsuits. They were in green. No, they weren't in green. They were in green. They were in green for jumpsuits. They've been in a lot of different colors. Until I hit this color, I had not really decided on one that I liked. And then when I was planning the colors for my incoming hive fleet, I was like, I want this to be a blue base, moving this way, things like that. And when I decided that, I was like, oh, I should try to incorporate some of those blue colors into the GSC, into the genestealer cult as well. I like that'd be really cool. because then they would have something to tie back to the actual Tyranids when they get here, or rather when I can open them. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I like the orange jumpsuits, you know. It's prison-y. It reminds me of the bad guys from Swamp Thing 2. So I was like, okay, well, we'll do their Tyranid styled armor in, you know, one of the colors I'm going to use for the Tyranids, because that's one of this blue is one of the colors I'm going to use. Okay, I think while his silver parts are not done, that is all of my silver that I put out used up. Okay, back to our Mr. the Friend here. Alright, let's see what he needs still. He needs a little bit of orange touch-up here and there. He needs some brown touch-up. He needs his brown parts here painted and his blue parts here painted. He's going to need some blue touch-up at the end as well. His copper here needs paint as well. Alright, so what else do we have on the vehicle that needs painting? There's some wires here and some mechanical bits. There's some kind of like container here. I actually think I want to paint that green. So we're going to pull out Death Guard green. Get that on there. And GW Death Guard green. There we go. And this is the same thing I'm using for this military like ammo container for the big guns here. It's a little watery, but it'll do the job. We'll just touch this up since we got it out. Try to just get that color more consistent. And again, the washes will help with that a lot, but best we can do our job is the best we're going to do our job. Okay, now let's color this. Let's do this container in. My belly slipping against the table and it feels weird. Go. Am I on cam? I'm on cam. Alright. Yeah. So just trying to add some more color, trying to increase the visual color depth of the model, trying to get some more variation in there. You know, this isn't like a color like we have to pick out, but it'll add a nice little bit of realism. And it'll pick out some of the detail, you know. You don't always have to paint the detail, but it definitely adds to the model when you do. Go. All right, sweet. Okay. All right, now let's pick up some of the copper color, because we can do some of the little techno bits in there as copper as well. Go. That's a lot. Using a super tiny brush for this. Really shouldn't be, but I am. All right, so let's clean up his light here. Go. There we go. There we go. Okay, and then we'll pick up some of the other bits. We'll just brighten them up some. Nice. Okay. The big like air filter or whatever is there on top. Okay, now we can pick out some of the littler bits. Let's try to add some visual depth to this. What I think is supposed to be like a bunch of like techno garbage that he's using as bombs. That's the implication I get from this model. You know, he's got a bunch of like construction shit that he's just jerry-rigged to explode kind of thing. There we go. Let's pick up that visual depth a little. Or the visual, yeah. Okay, now we have too much of the copper out, so we'll go ahead and we'll do more of that. Copper is the wrong term. This is actually brass. But might even be called brassy brass. Oh, I'm even triple wrong. This is bright bronze. Brassy brass is a different color that's somewhere else. Again, this is another color that I used in my skaven, so it's another nice tie back to my actual full-size army. Alright. We'll go ahead and we'll do this guy's light as well. Now I have one of these bikes technically full painted, but I'm going to have to repaint it. Because the guy is painted in the original green color scheme, like green and tan. And then I was like, no, that's too military. I don't like it. It doesn't look civilian enough. So he is going to need to be repainted, unfortunately. A little bit of pain in the tail, but we don't have a choice, so... Picking out the details. I know we're going to be this color. You know, deciding on what colors you're going to do in the model is super important. It saves you a lot of time having to go back later. But I mean, if you have to go back, you have to go back. It's what it is, you know. Like I have legitimately painted probably a dozen test models of these. You know, just you paint it, doesn't work out, that's cool, and you just repaint it. That's it. That's how she goes sometimes. You know, you can strip it and all that if you really want to, but that's a bunch of headache. Then none of them were so heavily coated in paint that I felt like it was necessary. Go. Man, I expected just to crush through the motorcycle or the four-wheeler guy, but I keep getting sidetracked to use up extra paint, so I don't want it to go to waste. Okay, we'll call that paint used up there. Oh wait, no, we're not. Nope. I'm gonna repaint the barrel of the gun. Alright, there we go. Now, let's paint the shells in the canister so you can kind of see them through the top. There we go. Just like that. Okay. Ugh. Back to our buddy here. Let's paint... Well, there's one wire that I forgot to paint, so let me do that. Oh, the red can't be dry yet. No. Oh no. There we go. Alright. Okay. Now we need to clean up the orange on the guy. So let's do that. Something we know we gotta do. That's not orange. That's flesh tone. I'm happy I didn't paint his pants that color. That would have been bad. Alright, so we gotta clean up the orange on the guy. Let's do that. Go. Just trying to tighten up some of the details with this. Trying to get a little more consistent color. Okay. Trying to make sure there's, you know, color everywhere that we're gonna wash. Because if there's not, you know, if there's primer or whatever left there, it's gonna we'll have to repaint the brown anyway. You know, it's gonna pick up the color of the wash first, not the orange first. There we go. Okay, orange is touched up for that. Let's touch up the orange on his little severed arm here, which is magnetized. Okay. Cool. That's good. All right. Touch up the blue. What do we gotta do? We gotta touch up the blue. We have to touch up the brown. And then we have to paint in... actually, let's do the lights next. Let's do those next. Man, I'm going to have to get back to work soon. I did not realize so much time flew by. We'll get this guy all painted, and then we'll get back to work. So I'll go back and do these headlights, the lines on the headlights. You could do like a object source lighting kind of glow on them, but honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of object source lighting, even when it's done like masterfully, which I can't do it as. Still not a big fan of it. So I just feel like it doesn't always fit what the model's doing at that time, kind of thing, you know. It's like why I don't like to put like dead enemies and stuff on the bases. For that same reason. Like oh no, camera, did you run out of juice? Man, dude. Alright, well I guess I'm done now. Alright, let me go charge the camera. She only got a little bit of charge since I was playing last Sunday, so we'll go ahead, we'll go for a charge. I'll get back to work. I got this guy mostly done. I'll finish him up, and once his whole unit's done, I'll put up photos on Instagram. But gonna go ahead and call it there. I gotta get back to work anyway. Hopefully this was useful or interesting in any way. And yeah, that's me working on my genestealer called Skaven. I'll be working on these guys almost certainly again next Wednesday. Because like I said, my goal is to have them all done before Christmas. To herald in my approaching hive fleet. So, thank you guys for watching. Have a good day.